Recording in progress.
Let's start. First of all, sorry for the delay. Mr. Lazzarini was in another meeting, and I'd like to thank you all very much for being here for this press conference of the UNRWA Commissioner General, Mr. Philippe Lazzarini. Doesn't need any introduction, of course, but I'd like to thank you very much for being here to listen to his update on the situation in the occupied Palestinian territory in Gaza. And I'll give him the floor immediately for his initial remarks, and then we will take a few questions, and I underline the few. Thank you. Mr. Lazzarini, Commissioner General.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and first of all, yes, apologize for the... Yes? C'est mieux comme ça? D'accord. Okay. So first of all, apologize for the delay. I had a longer member state briefing than expected this morning. What I suggest to do now is maybe just to share one or two latest developments on the ground, but also to share with you some of the messages I have shared with the member states, and also to comment on the review, the Catherine Colonna's report, and maybe also a little update on the OIOS report. When it comes to the situation on the ground, I mean, basically our colleagues are telling us that there is a extraordinary deep anxiety prevailing right now in Gaza, because the question everybody asks is whether, yes or not, there will be a military offensive, and the likelihood of a military offensive will all depend whether or not a ceasefire deal will be reached this week. Just to let you know that people have not yet been asked to evacuate from Rafah, but there is a sense that if there is no deal this week, that this can happen at any time. My colleagues on the ground are also describing basically a constant, I would say, a constant state of trauma among the people, and basically they came with a new acronym. We are not talking anymore about PTSD, but we are more talking about the CTSD, which would mean constant traumatic stress disorder prevailing in the Gaza Strip, and obviously this is not too surprising. This morning I commented also on the latest development in the north, where we are engaged in a race against the clock to reverse, in fact, the spreading hunger and the looming famine, especially in the northern part. The good news is that my colleagues have reported that there is more food available in the market, so increased availability, but it still does not mean that the food is accessible, just because there is absolutely no cash circulating in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. We believe that much more needs to be done. It is true that there have been more supply entering during the months of April, but this is still far from enough to reverse the negative trend we have seen. I have also mentioned this morning when I met the member states the issue about the blame game you might have heard between the Israeli authority, mainly the Kogat, and the United Nations. On one hand, the Israeli saying what we are providing all the necessary food. The problem is on the side of the United Nations. Let me just give you a few facts regarding this. First, this is not true, and this is not our reading. Look at, starting with UNRWA, whenever we ask for a convoy going from the south to the north, our convoys are systematically denied, so we still have no access. Whenever a permission is given to deliver anywhere else in the Strip, the process is always complicated and very cumbersome. When it comes to enter into Gaza, we have this system of offloading, downloading, offloading, downloading the trucks, which makes things extraordinarily difficult also. We have operating hours of the crossing which vary from one day to another one, with limited number of hours where we can operate, and most of the time, many times a week, we have also the crossing being closed because they are just dumping release the detainees, or dumping sometimes bodies who have been taken to Israel and back to the Gaza Strip. Now, talking about the detainees, I have also briefed the member state about the report we have issued about a week ago. It was the first time that, in fact, UNRWA has released such a report. In my meeting this morning, I have reminded that, of course, hostages are still in captivity with the Hamas, and that both the Secretary General, myself, but other UN officials keep asking for the unconditional and immediate release of the hostages. But I have also shared this morning our deep concern regarding the Gazan detained by the Israeli security forces. The report you have seen recently has been based on a number of testimonies collected by the agency. Why by the agency? Because we are at the crossing, we are at Kerem Shalom, because we are manning the main logistical hub at the entry of Gaza, and these people basically have been released at this place. And according to the testimonies that we have collected, people have told us that they are routinely rounded up. When they were arrested, they were routinely rounded up, stripped to their underwear, and loaded into trucks, blindfolded and bombed. Most of the time, once arrested, these detainees remain incommunicado, and they are subjected to shocking inhuman treatment. Among the inhuman treatment, they have described to us waterboarding, severe beatings, attack by dogs, being forced to hold stress position for hours, sometimes 12 hours, 24 hours, and being forced to wear diaper instead of accessing the toilet. And among the detainees who have been released, we had also a number of UNRWA staff, and they have also reported to us that while under interrogation they were asked a lot of questions about their work with UNRWA, and basically also being pressured to state that the agency is politically affiliated in the Gaza Strip. This morning, I have also highlighted the fact that, as you know, the agency is under a lot of strain. They are called for the agency to be dismantled, but the agency also has been targeted over the last 7 months in Gaza, where both our staff but also our premises, as well as our operation. I just reminded that since the beginning of the war, we have 182 staff members now who have been killed, more than 160 premises which have been damaged or totally destroyed, and most of these premises were sheltering displaced people, and more than 400 people have been killed in these premises. We have also seen that whenever we vacated premises, mainly in the north of the Gaza Strip, they have been then used for military purposes. We have also heard about the allegation regarding tunnel underneath some of our premises, and basically I was calling the member state to make sure that at the end of the war, once we have a ceasefire, that we have also that we put in place an independent investigation to look into this blatant disregard of the United Nations, in order to avoid that this becomes also in the future the new standard. I also briefed this morning about where we stand on the OIOS report. but in fact we have been briefed by Stefan Durajic, I think on Friday, just to reiterate what he has said. We started with 12 allegations conveyed orally to me, then I submitted after that to OIOS. Later on, OIOS received 7 additional allegations, 5 in March and 2 in April. Out of the 19, 1 person has been completely cleared and is now reinstated, and 4 people out of the 19, the investigation is now on hold because there is no further or additional information available for the time being. When it comes to the Catherine Colonna report, you had access already a week ago. You have seen that she has stressed the fact that the agency has important and robust system and mechanism to deal with neutrality breaches, that it is in fact above the average in the region, but obviously we can do more, and there is a number of recommendations that 50, yes, I see the body language right now, that the Secretary General and myself are committed now to implement. You have seen the 8th category. She has looked into it. We have published last week already 4 pages informing the member states about our intent and how we will follow up on this recommendation. And I hope that by mid-May we will have a first preliminary action plan to be shared. Now we will have 4 categories of recommendation. One are the recommendation for which the agency has already taken step, and we have just to align them with the recommendation of the report. We have additional recommendations which we consider a quick fix and can be implemented. Then we have recommendations which require additional resource within the organization. And lastly, we will have recommendations also which will require the support of member states or host country. We are committed to report back on a regular basis on where we stand with this recommendation. Maybe just a comment on the funding of the situation. In January, you remember that once the allegations have been made public, up to 16 countries suspended the contribution to the agency. The good news is that as of today, most of the donor countries have resumed their contribution to the agency. We just have a handful of a country who still need to take a decision. We know that the main contributor, being the US, has indicated that they will not be able to support the agency before March 25. But meanwhile, in all member state briefing, they are recommending other countries to support UNRWA, and we still wait otherwise the decision of other countries, including the one we are just now. The good news also on the funding is that we have new donors or countries who before never contributed to the agency. And I want also to flag the success in private fundraising. In 6 months, the agency has basically mobilized more than $115 million in private fundraising, which is an indication also of the extraordinary grassroots solidarity expressed towards Palestinian and also to the agency. Let me just conclude with 1 or 2 comments. The first one, and I was at the Security Council 10 days ago, and basically I reminded the member state that all the call for the agency to be dismantled, not only in Gaza, but also in East Jerusalem and in the West Bank, have nothing to do with neutrality. Neutrality issues can be addressed, but the objective behind it is clearly to strip the Palestinian from the refugee status. And basically, we keep hearing UNRWA is part of the problem because it perpetuates the refugee status. It's as if you say that an humanitarian response in a conflict perpetuates the conflict. What perpetuates the conflict is the absence of a political solution. So I told member states that more than ever, the lasting temporary agencies that we have been over the last 75 years, if really today there is a genuine commitment to reactivate and bring back the two-state solution on the table, the agency can retrieve its temporary nature by supporting the transition leading to the two-state solution, the transition leading to a day after. I think, Alessandra, I will maybe stop here and take questions.
And there are many, Commissioner General Lazzarini. And I will start with Yuri Prelev, who is our correspondent of IRA Novosti, and also the president, the new president, Philippe, of the Association of Journalists here in Geneva, at the Palais.
Merci, Monsieur le Commissaire Général. Je vais vous poser la question en français, si ça ne vous dérange pas. Je vais vous poser la question en français. Merci pour le briefing et merci d'avoir pris le temps de venir nous voir. Ma question est sur le fait que ce matin, l'adjointe du représentant permanent d'Israël, pendant son intervention, a expliqué que les accusations ne portaient plus sur 12 agents employés de l'UNRWA, mais sur 19 qui auraient participé aux attaques du 7 octobre. Et elle a notamment précisé que 2135 employés de l'UNRWA étaient, selon les informations israéliennes, membres du Hamas ou du djihad islamique palestinien. Est-ce que ça vous semble crédible ou est-ce que vous considérez que l'objectif de ces accusations, c'est plutôt de continuer à essayer de détruire la légitimité de l'UNRWA ou est-ce que vous allez enquêter sur ces cas-là? Merci.
Tout d'abord, félicitations pour la nouvelle fonction. C'est juste, nous avons 19 cas, comme je l'ai indiqué dans mes remarques. Par la suite, il y a beaucoup de chiffres qui circulent, des centaines de personnes qui seraient membres de groupes armés, des milliers de personnes qui seraient adhérents, peut-être plus sympathisants. Pour l'instant, ce sont, comment dire, des déclarations, ce sont des listes, mais ce n'est pas, il n'y a pas de fait, il n'y a pas d'informations qui substancie ou qui supporte en fait ce genre d'allégations. Donc à chaque fois, nous sommes clairs. Si vous faites une déclaration, et la plupart du temps en fait, sont des déclarations qui sont faites à travers la presse et pas forcément des informations soumises aux Nations Unies, mais si ces informations nous sont soumises, il faut qu'elles soient substantiées, et si elles sont substantiées, elles permettront ensuite d'ouvrir une enquête. Maintenant, la question est, est-ce que vous pouvez être un militant? Non, vous ne pouvez pas être un militant armé, vous pouvez, comme partout, il y a une politique qui ne permet pas, en fait, d'avoir une double allégeance, celle des Nations Unies ou celle d'un groupe armé. Et là, on a des politiques qui sont très claires, mais à chaque fois, pour ouvrir une enquête, on a besoin de plus qu'une déclaration. Il nous faut, malgré tout, quelques informations supplémentaires qui, à ma connaissance, n'ont pas encore été transmises aux Nations Unies.
Okay, so I'll now go to Benjamin Louis, who is our correspondent of the French-speaking Swiss radio. I think you have a news for us, Ben.
Oui, je vous pose aussi la question en français. Enfin, ça va être une réaction. On vient de recevoir la nouvelle que la commission de politique étrangère du National a voté en faveur d'une reprise du financement à l'UNRWA, 13 voix pour, 11 contre. Le Conseil fédéral va devoir encore se prononcer sur cette décision finale. Et on apprend également que parallèlement, le Parlement va déposer une motion pour financer les ONG actives au Proche-Orient sans l'UNRWA, dans un second temps. Donc j'aimerais avoir votre réaction. Merci.
Écoutez, premièrement, c'est une nouvelle pour moi, donc merci de me la transmettre. C'est plutôt une bonne nouvelle que la majorité des membres de la Commission des Affaires étrangères du Parlement recommandent en fait la continuation du soutien à l'UNRWA. Nous avons plaidé en fait dans ce sens, et je pense qu'il est important que la Suisse, en effet, continue sa tradition humanitaire dans la région. Et au moment où les réfugiés palestiniens et les Palestiniens ont le plus de besoins, que la Suisse continue d'être un partenaire avec la principale agence des Nations Unies venant en aide aux réfugiés palestiniens. Pour la deuxième partie de la question, je ne suis pas 100% sûr que j'ai bien compris. Est-ce que c'est une motion pour neutraliser la recommandation ou c'est une motion dans le futur? Là, je pense que j'ai trop peu d'éléments pour
c'est ce
commenter.
Que je comprends aussi. En fait, la Commission va déposer une motion pour qu'à terme, l'UNRWA ne touche plus d'argent, mais que ce soit d'autres ONG présentes au Proche-Orient qui gèrent l'humanitaire, qui serait donc les fonds humanitaires apportés par la Suisse. Donc c'est un oui dans un premier temps et un non dans un deuxième.
Alors, écoutez, j'espère que le non dans un deuxième temps se fasse le jour où la Suisse et les autres États membres auront œuvré à la création d'un État palestinien. Et lorsque nous aurons un État palestinien, nous pourrons effectivement nous retirer de la région. D'ici là, toute atteinte ou affaiblissement de l'agence va être perçu par les Palestiniens en général comme une atteinte à leurs aspirations d'autodétermination. Et on l'a vu lors d'un sondage la semaine dernière, que 80% des Palestiniens dans le West Bank, et en Cisjordanie et dans la bande de Gaza pensent que l'objectif d'affaiblir ou de démanteler UNRWA ou de remplacer UNRWA est lié à l'abandon des deux États.
Merci beaucoup. Je continue. Stéphane Boussard, Letton. I have a list.
Merci.
I've seen all your hands.
Merci pour ce briefing, Monsieur Lazzarini. Pour rebondir un peu sur ce que disait mon collègue, vous avez vu qu'il y a effectivement un débat extrêmement intense à Berne autour de l'UNRWA et tout ça. Quel est le message que vous aimeriez transmettre? Parce que là, effectivement, indépendamment de ce vote, tout n'est pas clair du tout sur la direction dans laquelle la Suisse va aller. Quel est un peu le message que vous aimeriez transmettre aux parlementaires par rapport à l'importance qu'a l'UNRWA dans l'apport d'aide humanitaire, de toutes les activités qu'elle a? Et ma deuxième question, c'est... en tant que représentant suisse ou à la tête de l'UNRWA, est-ce que vous avez encore confiance dans la politique étrangère de la Suisse? Merci.
Merci. Écoutez, je répondrai à la première question comme citoyen suisse également et pas forcément comme commissaire général. Évidemment que je suis inquiet de la perception de la Suisse. Il est important que cette Suisse, qui traditionnellement est une Suisse humanitaire, une Suisse neutre, impartiale, une Suisse des bons offices, continue d'être perçue comme cela. Je pense que dans un contexte aussi polarisé que le conflit israélo-palestinien et que le conflit actuel à Gaza, il est important que cette politique soit poursuivie. Et je pense qu'abandonner si la Suisse devait venir à abandonner son soutien à une agence comme UNRWA, en fait, elle sera très vite perçue dans cette partie du monde comme mettant en œuvre un agenda venant du Nord, un agenda partial, un agenda où finalement on applique un droit humanitaire international à deux vitesses, où ça ne s'applique pas forcément aux Palestiniens. Et là, je parle de ressenti. Et donc je pense qu'effectivement, ça peut avoir un impact durable par la suite sur le rôle que la Suisse pourrait jouer sur la scène internationale et surtout dans les domaines qui lui ont été chers jusqu'à maintenant. Donc je suis soulagé de la première partie de l'information qui vient d'être communiquée. Et évidemment, j'espère qu'elle ne sera pas suivie de la deuxième partie de la recommandation que l'on vient d'entendre.
Thank you very much. Christian, I had noted your hand. It's okay now. Okay, so let's go to Jérémy Lange, RFI, another French speaker.
Bonjour Monsieur Lazzarini. Sur le financement, vous êtes réjoui des contributions des donateurs privés, 115 millions je crois de dollars. Ça ne compense pas bien évidemment le manque à gagner, si je peux m'exprimer ainsi, des contributions des quelques pays qui ont toujours suspendu leur financement, la Grande-Bretagne, les États-Unis surtout. Par rapport au financement, on sait que l'UNRWA pouvait fonctionner jusqu'à fin juin, c'était les dernières nouvelles qu'on avait. Aujourd'hui, comment faire sans la contribution des États-Unis? Jusqu'à quand vous pouvez fonctionner? Ça, c'est la première question. Et puis la deuxième question sur le rapport OIOS. Quand est-ce que vous attendez les conclusions de ce rapport et est-ce que, une fois qu'il sera publié, vous espérez que cela mette un terme à la polémique sur le bien fondé ou pas de l'UNRWA et qu'on puisse passer à autre chose?
Merci. Je pense que le rapport Colonna devait être en fait le rapport qui parle en fait du bien fondé de l'UNRWA. Je pense qu'une des conclusions a été que l'UNRWA est essentielle, est indispensable, ne peut pas être remplacé dans son mandat et qu'en plus l'agence a des systèmes robustes au-delà de la moyenne, mais en raison de la complexité et de la politisation de l'environnement dans lequel on se trouve, on doit faire plus et on s'est engagé en fait à mettre en œuvre les recommandations. OIOS, ce sont des enquêtes sur des comportements individuels du personnel de l'UNRWA. Je ne sais pas quand elles vont se conclure parce que ça va prendre du temps, ça va dépendre en fait des informations ou de preuves qui pourraient être transmises aux enquêteurs. On avait commencé avec 12 personnes, aujourd'hui on en est à 19, peut-être que d'autres cas vont être soumis à l'équipe qui enquête. Ensuite, ces rapports ne vont pas forcément être publics parce qu'une fois qu'il y a une conclusion, ce sont des rapports qui pourraient permettre l'ouverture d'actions. Alors si des fautes graves sont avérées ou si une situation devait être suffisamment crédible pour ouvrir une enquête plus criminelle sur la possible participation d'un staff, eh bien ces rapports vont rester confidentiels jusqu'à la fin des enquêtes. Donc ce que nous allons faire, c'est ce que nous avons fait maintenant. On va régulièrement tenir informé de la situation en termes de combien de cas sont fermés, combien de cas sont temporairement mis en veilleuse et combien de cas continuent à être actifs. Donc, en plus, UNRWA en tant que tel n'est pas en charge de ces enquêtes, c'est une enquête indépendante. Donc, pour ce qui est du timeline, je ne sais pas.
Thank you very much.
The question, an important one. Les États-Unis représentent, alors l'année dernière, représentaient environ 400 millions de dollars pour l'agence, dont 180 millions de dollars pour le budget principal. C'est un manque à gagner extrêmement important. Les États-Unis, sur cette année fiscale, ont fait une contribution de 60 millions de dollars. Donc, il y a un manque à gagner sur le budget principal de 120 millions à peu près, que l'on va devoir compenser avec de nouveaux contributeurs. Il y a eu au cours de ces dernières semaines quelques annonces. Certains pays ont augmenté ou doublé leurs contributions ici en Europe, mais on a aussi entendu des pays comme l'Irak qui n'ont jamais été un contributeur. L'Algérie n'avait jamais contribué à l'organisation. Nous avons eu la semaine dernière l'annonce du Koweït qui va contribuer à 30 millions. Donc j'espère qu'avec ces annonces-là, on trouvera moyen de passer d'un mois à l'autre. Mais pour l'instant, je peux dire avec confiance que nous sommes couverts jusqu'à la fin du mois de juin. Maintenant, je regarde le mois de juillet et le mois d'août.
Merci beaucoup. Let's switch back to English. Jamie Keaton, Associated Press.
Thank you, Mr. Lazzarini, for coming to see us. Just wanted to follow up on that a little bit. Just to be clear, so there's not any change in your timetable for the continued operations of UNRWA through June, even though you've gotten this more than $115 million. That hasn't changed your timeline for operations. Just wanted to be clear on that. The second question just has to do with, you mentioned that one person had been reinstated. That means back to work? I mean, just could you clarify that? And is it your understanding that the donors who have suspended their funding are waiting for the release of the final OIOS report to actually resume? I mean, is that the condition that they've told you? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We have two main streams within the organization. We have the core budget, which basically covers the salaries of the 30,000 staff of the organization, which most of the time I describe as our backbone, basically. And when I talk about the shortfall of the main contributor of $180 million being the US, I talk about this part of the budget. The rest is related to the emergency appeal, either the emergency appeal for the OPT, which includes obviously Gaza, for which we have called now $1.2 billion US dollar, and also the appeal on the Syria crisis, which covers also the humanitarian assistance in Lebanon and in Jordan. So the $120 million that we have raised with the private sector is primarily money for the Gaza appeal, so it's not money mobilized for the core budget of the organization. Now, yes, I'm confident until the end of June, because I know that June is now completely breached. I have information about July. It's not completely breached. If you ask, are you confident or not, I would say during the last 4 years, I have rarely had more visibility than 2 or 3 months. I'm used now to have to deal with an extraordinary, unsettling financial environment and situation. So based on recent experience, based on the fact that most of the donors now have come back, and most of the donors clearly indicated that the review and the Catherine Colonna report will be the basis for their decision.
So not OIOS?
Not OIOS, that I'm aware of.
Thank you very much. I'll go to...
Can I just make a comment, because it's important? The Catherine Colonna report is all about the system and policies and the agency. OIOS, it's about individual behavior. And the individual behavior does not mean that there is a systemic issue. So Catherine Colonna was on the systemic. OIOS on the individual.
Okay.
But just to follow up on that, I mean, the reason that the funding was suspended was principally in relation to these individual cases.
You are right, but the follow-up concern after that was, is there a systemic flow or not?
Thank you very much. Let's go now to Imogen Fawkes, our correspondent of BBC. Imogen?
Hi, thanks for taking my question. This is actually about this floating bridge that the Americans are building into Gaza to bring aid in. Jamie McGoldrick, the outgoing humanitarian coordinator, he expressed some concerns about how that would work. I just wonder how you assess it.
Yes, there have been a number of concerns expressed by UN agency about the modus operandi once the pier is in place, and how the assistance will arrive, will be manned, will be handled at the pier. We had last week the head of the security, who came also to make an assessment. We have submitted a number of recommendations in order to address our concern, and my understanding is that these are ongoing discussion, and once our concerns are addressed, I mean, this will be an additional entry point. As you know, we keep also saying that the maritime corridor or airdropping cannot and should not be alternative to the main entry into Gaza, being the land crossing.
Indeed, Christian Ulrich from the German news agency had a question.
Thank you, Mr. Lazzarini. I'm getting lost in the figures that are floating around now. Can you tell us how many countries have still suspended what sum of money, what sum did you expect to get in January that has been suspended and has not resumed? So how much is still lacking out of a total of what? Thank you.
The countries who, I mean, first, the United States. United States has clearly indicated that they will keep the freeze, the suspension, until March 2025. The UK, because of Congress prohibition, the UK has not yet taken a decision. Austria has not yet taken a decision. So this, and we just heard what's going on here in Switzerland. So these are the three countries who are still suspending. All the other countries have resumed. Now we hear that Italy has also suspended, but Italy has not yet contributed to the agency since the new government is in place. So since 2023, they have not contributed to the agency. I don't know what the UK intended to contribute. You know, they have been, they were top donor a few years ago. They have significantly decreased when they have politically taken the decision to decrease their oversight budget from 0.7 to 0.5 of the GDP. I don't know exactly what the intent was for this year, so I have to look back to what they contributed in 2023 to have an estimate. But for the US, we are talking about 180 million US dollar.
Can we take a couple more questions? Okay. Sorry, I was just checking because I think at a certain point we will have to stop, but I'll give the floor to Dina Abissab. Dina, can you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Alessandra. I'm Dina Abissab. I'm the representative of different Arabic media. My question is about the detainees, the Palestinian detainees. You said that they are facing extreme violence. What is the number of those detainees? Do you have any figures? And did you document in your reports any killing of detainees and any sexual violence and rape? Thank you.
Thank you. What we have reported, basically, it's what I have shared with you before. So the short answer is no other mistreatment or torture than the one I have described. How many detainees? I don't know. I can tell you how many have been released through the Kerem Shalom crossing, and there have been more than 1,000 over the last few months.
Thank you very much. Now, Elizabeth. She was waiting. She's been waiting for a long time. Louisa Ballin from the Global Geneva magazine. We can't hear you. Maybe you oh, now it works.
Okay,
Louisa, now it's working.
Thank you. Merci Alessandra. Bonjour Monsieur Lazzarini. J'ai une question par rapport au Conseil fédéral. Les parlementaires, une des commissions s'est exprimée. Je voudrais savoir quel est votre message aux membres du Conseil fédéral, puisqu'on sait qu'ils sont divisés par rapport au soutien de l'UNRWA. Et j'aimerais aussi vous demander, est-ce que vous avez des contacts avec des personnalités de la société civile et autres israéliennes. Merci.
Écoutez, sur le message pour les membres du Conseil fédéral, j'espère qu'ils vont suivre la recommandation de la Commission des affaires étrangères, en tout cas la première partie de la recommandation, et j'espère que la Suisse et le Conseil fédéral resteront le partenaire qu'ils ont été au cours de ces dernières décennies avec l'agence pour les années à venir, et surtout pour ces années qui, j'espère, deviendront des années de transition si la communauté internationale est véritablement sérieuse sur la question des deux États, et que si c'est le cas, ce n'est certainement pas le moment d'abandonner le soutien à une organisation comme la nôtre. Pour la deuxième partie de la question, la réponse est oui.
Thank you very much. I'll take a last question from the correspondent of Yomiuri Shimbun.
Thank you very much. My name is Satoko Adachi. I work for Yomiuri Shimbun. I just want to follow up the pier that the U.S. military is currently constructing. In terms of aid distribution, will UNRWA be involved in this? And then also, secondly, you said that the Israeli authorities have denied UNRWA to deliver food aid to the north. So the last time UNRWA was able to deliver the food aid was January 23rd. So since then, you were denied. And then also about when was the last time you were allowed to enter Gaza? Because I saw the news that you are also denied to enter the Gaza. Thank you.
Thank you. I plan to go to Gaza Sunday, so I hope I will be allowed to go to Gaza. But I don't have a final answer for the time being. When it comes to the pier, basically we have, we are dividing responsibility within the UN system. UNRWA is manning the logistic at Kerem Shalom and in Rafah. And we have the logistic cluster, which is supported by WFP, which will be manning the entry point at Eretz, when Eretz becomes operational, and also at the pier, on behalf of the humanitarian system. It is true that we did not have any convoys of UNRWA, direct convoys from the south to the north. Having said that, when we operate in the north, we have our staff helping for the distribution to the people in need, and we have also the necessary premises where the assistance can be brought in. So, yeah, I have to. For the person who asked how much funding is still suspended to the agency, the estimated, when we say suspended, it's money we were aware, which was committed, and which remained suspended for the agency. The total amount is $267 million US dollar. The bulk of it comes from the US. And I'm trying to read.
Trying to answer your questions.
Okay. Yeah. I was just reminded that when it comes to supply into Gaza, the most efficient way and the quickest remains the land access. And this is also the safest way to bring assistance into Gaza Strip.
Thank you very much, Commissioner General Lazzarini, for these updates today. It was really important to hear you, especially after the decision of the Swiss authorities. Thanks to all for having followed this press conference, and please come back soon to update us. And good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bon appétit.
Recording stopped.